wanted to go over housing with you guys. So, because I talk a lot about investing in multifamily real estate as a real estate vehicle, it's an investment, right? When you're to take your money, your hard-earned money out of the bank, you want to put them in these big institutional quality multifamily real estate deals. But there's a reason why I do that. Why this vehicle to me is the better vehicle. And it's really because even though we're using real estate as the vehicle, what I'm really investing in is housing. This is a housing play. Now, when I talk housing, I'm not talking about buying one single family house. I'm talking about looking at institutional quality assets. These are properties that insurance companies buy, institutions buy, banks buy these properties. We're not talking about mom and pop single family house with a white picket fence. We're talking about beautiful, great assets in a great location in great cities all around America, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's housing, 500 units, 300, 200, whatever. But the part about that, the reason why that's valuable to me in my mindset is because rents. This is a rental income play. This is about rents. Rents have went up in the United States since 1945 on the average, roughly about 8 to 9%. Nobody really talks about that. It beats the S&P 500. Always has, always will, because of inflation, right? As a matter of fact, if we just pull the curtain back, since I was born in 1973, rents were 108 bucks on the average, right? I usually pull my phone out. I guess I can do it. But so rents in this country in 1973 on the average were, let me see. I'll pull them up for you guys because I like to show, right? I like to show what I'm talking about because it'll add value. And if you want, let's see, rents in America in 1973. Hold on. Average rent in the United States in 1973. It was $108. $108 right there. Where is it at? 19 average rent in 1973. This one says 1970. But did you get, let me see if I can pull it back some. Can you see it? Right there, $108. I wasn't off. But rents in America right now, let's say 2025, the average rent is $1,800, right? 1,800 bucks. So that's a 16x increase in rents just between this. That's 51 years. That's crazy that I'm 50 years old. Let's just say 51. Right, I'm 51 years old, but let's just say 50 over 50 years, 1973 to 2025, rents have went up 16 times. Now that's going to continue to happen, right? And if you Google this, there's a chart out there. There's a chart. If you look at the average rent in 1945 and you look at where it is today as a graph, I love graphs. I love looking at graphs and stats because it gives me the data that I need to make the right decisions in my investments. Because like I said, we're really investing in housing, rental housing, quality, affordable rental housing, not affordable housing, but rents that are affordable in the United States. Because, like we said, right now, if rents are roughly $1,800 in the U.S. Now, where's that at? Right? That's probably a one bedroom, two bedroom, wherever. But if you live in California, the average rent here is roughly anywhere like 3,000 bucks, right? If you're in Silicon Valley, near like Facebook, your rents could be $9,000 a month. And that's like a 1960s product. If you're in New York City, like Manhattan or something like that, I think the rents were $5,000 roughly, period. Like, and if you're in Beverly Hills, I think the rents also there were like 5 grand. So like that wasn't that expensive back in the day, but it is now. So when you start taking a look at where things are, the average rents in California, this is the average. This isn't like super nice stuff. This is all old stuff. Beverly Hills, Silicon Valley's old. This was an average rent that's still affordable. Now, 10 years from now, I believe the average rent's probably going to be anywhere from $4,000. So they'll probably be at least $1,000 higher. They really will, which is why when I think about investing in multifamily real estate, this is interesting to me because we always say you have to follow the money, right? And if you're going to be following the money as it relates to investing in real estate, you know you're going to be looking at multifamily real estate. And I keep talking about it, I go over it all the time, is that there's roughly about 70 million millennials and 70 million baby boomers all doing one thing, becoming a renter nation. They're renting. Rent their cars, rent their apartments, rent their place. Hell, if we're gonna have a birthday party for my grandkids, I'm not gonna buy a 6 foot table. I'm gonna go rent one. If I haven't already, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna rent everything, right? That's what Uber is. That's what Lyft is. So everything that people do right now, they're renting. So if that's kind of becoming the way of the world and things are happening so fast, multifamily real estate, as it relates to an investment for housing, it's probably something to keep taking a look at because when I look at a deal, I'm thinking 10 years forward, 10 years on my rents. And if I can just get 5%, what do we say? The average is 8 to 9%, but we're not doing that. And that's not including inflation, right? Because if you think about that, in 2020, just 2020, less than 5 years ago now, if you had $1 million in savings, that $1 million lost 25% of its buying power. So you would only buy $750,000 worth of anything, investments, goods, services, whatever the case may be. That's happening. That comes from inflation. That's going to keep happening. But the good part about inflation is that inflation and real estate go hand in hand. Inflation is good when you have assets. Can you even read that? And let's see, that's why I was trying to turn my marker. Inflation. Boom. I'll go back to it. Inflation is good for real estate. It really is because as the value goes up in your real estate, then in your rent, then the value of your property goes up. That's how real estate is. These properties I'm talking about. And I'll give you an example of that. And I know my pen's dying, so bear with me. Let's say we found $100 million deal. I'm going to get $60 million in debt. Easy to do. These big deals, they all carry debt that way, right? But we're gonna all come together. We're gonna all put in $40 million in equity. $40 million in equity. Here's how this deal will work. So this is how I make sense of investing in a deal, especially when I'm thinking about what's happening in the world about rents and how they're continuing to go up in the housing market, right? And it's going to continue to happen, right? It's happened for 50 years. It's happened over 100 years. It's going to continue to happen forward. So let's say we put down $40 million. We all collectively come together, whether it's 10 of us or 400 of us, we all came up with 100 grand each, or it was 40 of us and we all put $1 million. Doesn't matter. Let's say we're going to get 5% on our money in this apartment building deal. Let's say this is a 200 unit deal, 200 units. Hypothetically, just roll with me on that one. All right. So that's 5%. So we're going to get what? $2 million a year just in cash flow on our money as it sits. Boom, not a big problem. Over 10 years, we'll have 50% of our money back, right? That's 50% of our money back just from just doing nothing. The property doing what it's doing. I'm really losing my pen. Let's see. I'll go with it. We're almost done. But like you saw what I just shared with you about the inflation. So let's just say on the average in this property rents, do I think on the average, let's say the average rent in this property is 2,500 bucks. 2,500 bucks on the average across the board, right? It can range from 3,000, 2,700, 2,500, 2,200, whatever. But let's just say we increase rents at a minimum of 5%. All right. 5%. I think that's realistic. So let's go 5%. So we'll get another $2 million a year just by raising the rents. And let's say we didn't do that for 10 years. Let's say we cut it back. We only got 5 years. We held this thing for 10 years. 10 years, we got our original 5%. 5 of the 10 years, let's say we didn't get it the whole time, we did that. That's another $10 million on our money. Just from increasing the income of this thing or the cash flow, right? This is an increase. We already were getting this, now we're getting this. That's another $10 million that we got. That's $30 million just in cash flow and increased cash flow. Boom. I'm losing it. I'm losing my pen, man. Right? But keep that number, $30 million just from cash flow. 30 million. Right. That's cash flow plus appreciation. Well, I would say that's an inflation over rent, right? Because we're gonna increase the rent by 5%. I'm really losing. I'll get closer, right? Can you see that? Yeah, you guys can see, man. You guys are good. I know I'm talking fast. Stick with me on that. But think about that. Going off of what I showed you, if the average rent over 1945, now in 2020, it was higher than that. I think over 2022, somewhere in there, rents jumped 20% across the United States. Now, that's why there's so much printing. That's why the Fed jumped in and cooled everybody's heels and increased the rates by like three times by what they were to cause everybody to stop spending and start doing what they were doing, which caused everybody to stop increasing their rent so quickly because the average is still anywhere from 8 to 9% in rent. That 20% was ridiculous. That can't be sustainable for anybody. You can't just choke people out and be like, hey, pay your rent. I'm going to increase your rent. That's the problem. But that's why we did 5% simply, but we gave $30 million from that. Now, here's the thing about that. That extra increase in 5%, when we go back later on to sell, what we said, we did $40 million. We made $30 million. So now that's 70 million that we've made because we didn't lose our initial money. Like this is still money. We didn't lose it. So we got our 40. So we got our 40 million initially. We got 30 million on top of that. And oh, by the way, when we go to sell that property based on the new increased income from the rental, and I'll go through that on a different video. I won't sell unless we can make at least 40 million. We need to double our money. All of us get a double. So that's $110 million that investment made from our investment in housing, right? Taking care of the tenants, making sure that we do the right thing for everybody, professional management, making sure we're buying a good asset, great location. We have good debt on the property. We're taking care of our partners, which is the bank and or the lenders who we got the money from. But this is the way that game works. But realistically, the increase in value really came from here because this is new increase in that value. So that extra per year increase in rental income, there's a formula for that. I go through it. And naturally, you take that and you increase it by whatever your market cap rate is, whatever that increase was. That's how we came up with when it was time to sell. We had that extra. We increased or we doubled what our down payment was, right? So we don't need to increase. We don't need to double what we pay for it. The 100 million. We don't need to sell it for 200. We need to increase the value or sell it for 140 million, which is the equity times two, right? So it's really 100. So that's how this game is played, but this is why I wanted to talk about it. When you follow the money, where's the money at in real estate? It's not in buying a single family house and hoping that you sell it and your comparable sales work. You want to have a little bit of play by just taking a look at the world and saying, look, inflation is happening. It's real. They will print money again, whether it's Trump or whether it's the person after him. At some point, it's going to happen. Once that money hits the table, it's going to get sent out to the world and people are going to spend it. And the cost of goods will continue to go. Like I said, that's how this game works. That $1 million that was in 2020 buys less today because they printed trillions of dollars during that time and distributed out to America or around the world. And that made the cost of goods go up, right? That's how this works. But if that happens, if we have real estate and our rents consistently go up just by nature of inflation, and oh, by the way, we get more of an increase, we can take the value of that and increase our assets. That's the benefit of doing what we're doing. All right. So I know that was a lot. Watch the video again. And my pen started dying, so it's a little light. It's hard on the eyes. I'll fix all that. I got another pen, but I don't want to run off to the other room and get it just for the sake of this example. I'll do another one. But this is important to know. The bigger picture that I want you to walk away with, look, rents will continue to go up in this country. They went up since 1945. They consistently went up since 1945. They went up 16 times since I've been born, right? From $108 to $1,800 on the average. And that was an average. That's not even in a nice place. We're talking about things that are going to continue to happen no matter what's happening. But that said, the government's always going to be involved. Taxes are always going to be involved. Growth is always going to be involved. And the benefit of that is to play this game together. Like when we can play this game together and we use the things that are working against us to our benefit, the way that the big institutions, banks, and endowments and all these guys play this real estate investment game, the investment game. Don't get confused between investing and the investment. It's an investment, right? This is supposed to multiply your money, which I just showed you how that worked using rents and inflation and what's going to happen and how this game really works for you guys. All right. I hope this helps. It does always help me. It helps me to be like, dude, 5%. If we just put 5%, we can get something for 5% and we can raise it 5% a year for the next 5 years after we get it and keep on doing that over a 10-year hold period. We can double or triple our money on the out at the end. That's what I want for our company. That's what I want for my investors. That's what I want for myself. And I want to do that with you and your family. All right. So go to bell-capital.com here for you. You can either schedule a call or you can register there and you can take a look at the open opportunities that we have. Got to be accredited. You got to be a good person. You got to love real estate and you got to think long term. All right. So if you guys need anything, let me know. Like this video, share the video, comment on the video, leave it a thumbs up or leave it a thumbs down. Don't be a hater and a hider at the same time. And I do appreciate you guys. Always leave me a comment. I love your comments. I love answering them. I love to talk to you guys. And let's keep it going. Boom. Are you an accredited investor with $300,000 or more liquid in the bank? I want you to come and partner with me. Look, if you love real estate, passive income, and positive cash flow, appreciation over long periods of time, and you're willing to be patient, come invest with me. Go to bell-capital.com. This is for accredited investors with $300,000 or more in the bank, ready to go. Come invest with me. Go to bell-capital.com.